If you can't talk to each other, then you shouldn't be together. I firmly believe that, because the reality is that communication is key in any relationship. And if you're going to have happiness and success, you two have to be on the same page. You have to be able to talk to each other, express yourselves to each other, because if not, it causes all kinds of problems. And the reality is, the unfortunate reality is that many relationships are going through this. Whether you're in one right now or you are hoping to get into one, you have to be mindful and aware of the fact that a lot of men struggle with opening up. That's just an unfortunate truth. Now, one of the reasons, of course, I think most of us will agree, if not all, men are not raised to be very expressive emotionally, all right? Men are told to suck it up, to deal with it, and they bottle up their emotions and they don't know how to process and handle them properly. Now, there are some people out there who believe, okay, so we need to encourage our young men to open up and express themselves. Yes, yes, but to a certain extent. And what I mean to a certain extent is, it is one thing to express how you feel and remain calm and gain control of your emotions, rather than to allow yourself to be an emotional wreck while you're expressing yourself, all right? Just throwing that out there, whole nother discussion. Let's get back to the grown men though. He's already grown, he's struggling, and again, you as a woman have to be mindful of, what role do you play in his ability to, or his willingness to open up to you? Now, of course, there's a big point I have to make at the very end. Just listen to the whole thing, because I have to explain this one big point. But let's start with some of the other things. So when you show him that you will not throw things back in his face, he can start to open up to you. If you scour the internet and you see any videos or discussions about men communicating and opening up, you will constantly see men complain about or point out the fact that they cannot trust women to not use those moments against them. That they will now, again, throw it back in their face. They will judge them, look down on them, all kinds of issues. And because of this, men are shutting down. Now, I am not a believer that this is a healthy way to handle this on the men's side. I still encourage a man to open up. And if she shows you she will throw it back in your face, that just shows you can't be with this woman. All right. So the man can't expose what he's dealing with unless he's willing to open up. But also because it's unfair to the woman who is willing to listen and not throw it back in his face for him to just shut down. Regardless of that, the fact remains that many men hold back for this reason. So as a woman, let me say this. Everything I'm about to mention on this list is things you can apply with anyone, friends, family, your children. This is going to help anyone in your life be more willing to talk to you and open up more, okay? So understand that you can't just make this about, well, he's a grown man, he should be able to do this on his own. Why do I need to do anything? No, because flip it for a second. If you felt like every time you opened up, your man threw it back in your face, well, you're going to think twice too. You might talk to your friends, you might talk to other individuals, but confiding in him will get less and less because of the way that he handles it. So again, there is still a role that you play in this dynamic. And this throwing things back in the face is just, it's a huge, again, if you were to poll men, I guarantee this would be one of the number one reasons why a man will tell you why they don't open up to a woman. All right. So be mindful of that. And what I want to elaborate on more is this. You've really got to practice this always in your life. You have to be aware and be willing to hold yourself accountable when you do this to anyone. Because the reality is that if you have a habit of throwing things back in people's faces, again, friends, family, kids, whoever, it will be very difficult for you to not do it to the man that you're with. Plain and simple. Not to mention, if you say, well, I've been dating this man And he hasn't even given me the opportunity to show him I won't throw it back in his face. Well, guess what? He is paying attention to what you do with other people too. So if he has witnessed or heard of, whether it be on the phone, whether it be in person, that you took information and threw it back, now he's like, oh, I'm not going to put myself in that position. Hell no. Like, I'm not even going to go there. He now sees he cannot trust you in that way. So please be aware you're being watched. Like the eyes are on you. And if you don't learn how to manage this in general, you're going to have a problem. So a great thing for you to do to start practicing this is letting the people you love, letting the people you're cool with, be aware that you're trying to work on this. And that if you ever do it, they are allowed to call you out and check you on it. All right. You've got to give them permission to put you in your place, so to speak. All right. In that moment, in a loving way, of course, not attacking you with it, but letting you know, hey, you told me to let you know about this. You're doing it right now. So that you can start to become more aware. And when they check you, don't fight it. Don't resist it. Accept it for what it is and say, you know what? I'm sorry. My apologies. And now, get back to a more healthier discussion or healthier expression with them. All right, so the next thing, if you do this, you can get him to open up emotionally a lot more, is using more humor in your discussions or showing that you can be lighthearted, all right? So again, there's a lot of men who feel like, one, a lot of women don't know how to take a joke, okay? And in that, they, especially in today's society, there's become this environment where people are afraid to just say things even jokingly, all right? And you may say, well, okay, what does that have to do with opening up emotionally? Well, again, if you seem to be this very tense, on-edge person, can't take a joke, it becomes fearful to the other individual to trust how you will react to them telling you certain things, all right? And so now they become overly cautious. Your ability to interject humor into the discussion, it lowers defenses. When you can get people to laugh, they're more loose. They're more calm. Laughter is almost like liquor. When you think about it, people are laughing and having a good time. They'll let more stuff come out because they're not overthinking it anymore. They're not all on edge and guarded anymore. May not be as strong as liquor, but I'm saying it has the power to soften people up, all right? So now, it doesn't mean you need to learn how to be a comedian and make jokes or start writing a set of jokes that you can use when you're in conversations with a man. It just means learning how to lighten up, all right? Learning how to understand his humor. Because also, in you showing that you can understand and embrace his humor, that will also contribute to him feeling like he can talk to you about other things. Again, the more a man feels free around you, and this could be its own point, but we're going to include it in this. The more that he can feel like I can be myself, I can be free, the more he will expose himself to you. And expose might sound like a bad word, but you know what I mean? The more he may reveal, that's a better word. The more he may reveal himself to you. Now, again, do I think a man or a woman should be waiting for someone to essentially give them the permission or allow them to feel like they can reveal themselves? No, I want people to feel confident enough to come in showing their true selves. And again, determining if this person can embrace that and be in alignment with it, or they're just the wrong person. But this is about what you can do to increase the chances of him opening up, to allow yourself to have healthier relationships and healthier communication. So yes, the more you can allow him to feel relaxed and free around you, joke around, all these things, that is going to help with him opening up emotionally. Okay, so let's move things along. And the next thing you can do that will get a man to open up to you emotionally is to show him you are not overly sensitive. Now, this one's a little tricky because some of you are just very sensitive. I mean, I don't want you to fake being who you are, right? If you're a very sensitive person, you're a very sensitive person. And again, I would encourage any man to learn the sensitivities of his woman and understand how to work with that. However, I do think that sometimes you have individuals or two people trying to come together whose level of sensitivity and level of open-mindedness, we're going to use the word, right, clashes. And it's hard for them to come together because maybe it can happen on either way. The man, one being very sensitive or the woman being very sensitive. But let's go with the woman being very sensitive. And this man talks very roughly. He's a little more sharp with his tongue, all these things. Now, again, he should learn to soften it up. But I have seen situations where even in him softening it up, this woman is quick to take everything personally, all right? And quick to be offended. So there is a role. So though I think some people may be more sensitive than others, and some people are more blunt than others, both have improvements to make on both sides. And then when they can get to that improved state, then we can evaluate, okay, can we actually make this work? But going back to the point of you being very sensitive and what that does to his willingness to open up to you, sometimes men don't tell you the truth and aren't open with you because they're afraid to hurt your feelings, all right? Again, I am not using that to validate or to excuse a man omitting information or even flat out lying. I'm explaining to you what happens, why it happens, all right? Sometimes the man just feels like if I tell her, she's gonna start crying, she's gonna be a mess. And to him, it's like, I know I can get this situation handled, so why even open her up to that because she can't handle it emotionally? But then unfortunately, let's just say he takes that route, it comes out later that, you know, he held this information back for you. Even if he handled it, you may feel some kind of way. But you have to understand that, yes, if you don't show an ability, or at least an improved ability to handle what he has to give you, even when it's a harsh truth. And when I say harsh truth, I don't mean in his delivery, I mean in the reality of it, all right? Because sometimes the reality of it is something that you just don't like, that may hurt your feelings, but he's not saying it to you to hurt your feelings. He's not saying it to you to make you feel some kind of way. You have to be able to differentiate that. You have to be able to understand, okay, this man is trying to include me. He's trying to respect my feelings and my request to be told about situations. He's trying to keep the lines of communication wide open. I have to show him that I can handle this and not, again, internalize. So I think it's very important for those of you who can acknowledge that maybe you're very sensitive, or at the very least, you take things personally, or you're quick to take things personally. You got to learn to stop that. That right there is something that is not a personality trait. That is a mindset shift. That's something that you have to change through being conscious and aware of it and saying, listen, it's not always about me. It's not, you have to be able to separate yourself from the situation in the sense of what's really going on here and be able to not let your emotions get the best of you. It's the same way where sometimes I'll do a video. No, I'm going to be very honest. I have recently, Lord forgive me, I have recently, and this is no offense to the person if they realize who I'm talking about. A person received one of my emails and it had a certain title. And they took it personally, like I'm speaking directly to them. And in my head, I'm like, I said this to everybody. I'm not speaking to any specific person. And I can understand if I have to be even better with how I use my words and what could trigger people. I'll take accountability for that. But to take it so personally, like it was a direct attack that I aimed at you specifically, it's like, so if you're doing that with me and we don't even talk in person, I'm online, what are you doing with the guy who's in front of your face? What are you doing in your romantic relationships where you're more emotionally invested? You see what I'm saying? You've got to be able to recognize when, no, take a step back, take a deep breath. And when you show him you're not quick to be offended and quick to be sensitive about it, you make it easier for him to open up. All right, so now the next thing you can do to get a man to open up emotionally, and this one is so near and dear to my heart because I'm always saying it and I believe wholeheartedly in the power of it. And that's when you can show him that you can speak to him in a positive and loving manner. So I'm sure that some of y'all thinking, well, I speak like that. No, you don't. No, you don't. This time I'm aiming this one right at whoever the shoe fits for, all right? No, you don't. You don't speak as positive and loving as you think. Here's what I have seen in all my years of doing this, all right? And this can happen in all kinds of situations with all kinds of people. But a lot of women in relationships or while they're dating a man, you may be speaking calmly. You may not be cursing him out, but your energy and attitude is negative. It's stank, all right? Stank, that's what it is, okay? And that man, it's almost this passive-aggressive energy. And you know what's worse about passive aggressiveness? It's almost like you know they're attacking you with this negative energy, but if you dare say something, it's like, what do you mean? I'm talking to you calm. I'm fine. You're the one that's tripping. You're having a problem. And you want to gaslight them like they're crazy. No. Be real with yourself. How are you coming to the table? What's the energy that you're projecting in this discussion? So speaking to a man in a positive and loving manner starts with checking your spirit and energy first, all right? And a couple things you can consider or that will help you with doing that better is one, do not speak to him in the moment of anger, all right? It's going to be very difficult for you as a human being to check yourself and keep yourself properly contained if you're holding on to so much anger and this thing just happened. It is much better for you to step away for a little while, take a deep breath, do whatever you have to do to kind of decompress. It may not get all the negative energy out of you, but it can get enough out so that you can come to the table with a better attitude and energy, all right? The second thing to do is do not come into the discussion expecting negative, all right? You can be mentally prepared for negative. That doesn't mean you have to expect the negative. When you expect and project a negative outcome, you end up projecting a negative energy. So again, that man feels that, and that makes him shut down. That makes him not even want to bother with this discussion. Have you ever talked to someone, and again, even though they may be acting calm, you feel like talking will be pointless right now? You can sense that they've already made up their mind. They're not even open to the possibility that what they're thinking is not correct, all right? Now listen, there may be some situations where you feel certain or you have evidence or proof that something is wrong, and you know that's different than you trying to gain a better understanding or find out what's going on, and you again jumping to your own conclusions and projecting those conclusions onto that man. It's not going to work, all right? So take a step away if you have to. Do not project onto him. And when I say take a step away, do not speak in a moment of anger. And then the third thing real quick, and we'll get back to the point, pray before you speak, all right? You know, people say think before you react or think before you speak. Pray before you speak. Pray before you react. That can help bring it back, bring it down a notch. Sometimes, again, your mind is taking you to a place that you don't need to go to, but your spirit can bring you back to where you need to be, all right? So when you know you're about to have a real discussion or something that has the potential to go left, pray before you go into it so that you will now have, again, the proper mindset and energy to have a more effective, productive discussion. And let me say this, it's hitting my spirit, so I feel the need to say it. Productive discussion doesn't mean that the end result will be what you want it to be. Meaning, I'm just going to give an example. Let's just say you are hearing rumors this man is cheating, and you confront him about it. And I know most of y'all are going to say, well, why the hell do I need to approach it from a loving and positive manner? Because you may be wrong. All right, but let's just say in this situation, you heard he's cheating. You come in with that loving impulse. You catch yourself, you pray, you come in calm, and it turns out he says, yes, I have been cheating. So here's the thing. It was still productive because you got the answer you needed. Well, you may not see it as the answer you needed, but you got the clarity. You got the resolution. It hurts, it sucks, but there is no confusion going forward. However, you come in like a heat-seeking missile attacking, you actually increase the chances of him dodging the question, running from the situation, because now he's so afraid to acknowledge and admit what he's doing because he doesn't know what the hell's going to happen next. All right? Again, that calmness you come in with disarms the individual, and it makes them feel more, or it allows them to be more willing to speak and be honest about things. All right? So all that to say, positive and loving manner is huge. And again, when you can do that and when you can show the ability to master your energy, master your spirit, you're going to be able to get better conversations, better communication out of anyone. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Some men will play games. You're probably thinking they all play games, but no, some men. But in this context, it's not playing games to manipulate you, hurt you.